The marble floors of the Grand Crest Hotel sparkled under the chandelier lights. Tourists rolled their suitcases past gold-trimmed elevators. No one noticed the man who stepped inside. He didn't look like someone who belonged. Henry Watson wore faded jeans, a plain hoodie, and a duffel bag over his shoulder. His sneakers were worn, and the cap on his head was pulled low. Behind those dark eyes was a man who ran the entire hotel. He approached the front desk. Two receptionists were working. A blonde woman stayed busy on the phone. A tall white man typed on a keyboard without looking up. Henry cleared his throat. "Excuse me," the man looked up. His eyes scanned Henry from head to toe. No smile. Just a curl of the lip. "The exit's that way," he said, nodding to the door. Henry blinked. "I beg your pardon?" "You heard me," the man said, louder now. "Exit's in the back. We don't have spare change. Move along, monkey." Silence. Even the woman on the phone stopped mid-sentence. Henry's hand tightened on the duffel strap. He could have pulled out his ID. He could have fired the man on the spot. But he didn't. Instead, he smiled. "Thank you," he said. "I think I've seen enough." The elevator dinged softly as Henry stepped in alone, scanning his access card. The penthouse button lit up, a floor few employees even knew existed. As the doors slid shut, his smile faded. He leaned against the mirrored wall, closing his eyes for a moment. Not out of exhaustion, out of control. He wasn't surprised. Not really. That wasn't the first time he'd been judged by his skin. But it was the first time it had happened here, in his hotel, by someone wearing the Grand Crest nameplate. The elevator opened to a silent, luxurious hallway. Thick carpet muffled his steps. At the end of the hall, a glass office with a panoramic view of the city skyline. Inside waited a woman in a navy suit, brows furrowed over a laptop. "Monica," Henry said quietly. She looked up. "You're early. Everything go okay?" He dropped the duffel on the couch. "No. And that's exactly the problem." Monica tilted her head, concerned. "Want to file a report?" "No. I want you to pull every piece of internal footage from the front desk in the last 20 minutes. Audio included. Then I want the employee records on what was his name?" He pulled a keycard from his pocket, Chase Daniels. "Get me his file. Everything." Monica's hands were already flying across the keyboard. "Right away." Henry turned toward the window, arms crossed. "I built this place to be better than the rest. If he feels comfortable saying that at the front desk, in the middle of the day, I have to ask." He looked back at her. "Who else have we failed to see?" Monica didn't answer. Outside the office door, the sound of elevator doors echoed again. Someone was coming. And Henry had no idea just how deep this rot really went. The door opened before Monica could reply. A knock would have been polite, but politeness didn't live in the bones of Douglas Rayner, the regional director of operations. "Henry!" Douglas boomed, all teeth and fake charm. His tailored suit looked like it came with a trust fund. "Heard you were on site." "What a surprise." Henry didn't move from the window. "You always barge in like that, or is it just when you feel guilty?" Douglas chuckled, then glanced at Monica, who gave him a look sharp enough to draw blood. "I assume something happened?" Douglas asked, stepping further inside like he owned the place. Henry turned slowly, his expression unreadable. "One of our front desk employees just called me a monkey and told me to leave through the back." Douglas's smile twitched. He blinked twice, clearly scrambling to calculate the right reaction. That's horrible. Obviously, that's unacceptable." "Who was it?" Monica spoke without looking up. "Name's Chase Daniels. Started 6 months ago. Referred by corporate, through your pipeline, actually." The air changed. Just slightly. Douglas's mouth opened, then closed. Well, look, Let's not rush to conclusions. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. He's young. People make dumb jokes. Jokes? Henry interrupted, voice low and even. You think that was a joke? Douglas took a step back. I didn't mean it like that. I just mean, maybe the guy didn't know who you were. That's exactly the point, Henry said, his voice like quiet thunder. He treated a black man like trash because he thought he could. Because he believed no one would stop him. Silence filled the room. Then Henry added, and if he acts like that in front of security cameras, imagine what he's like when no one's watching. Monica looked up. We're compiling employee complaints and incident reports. There's more than you'd expect. Rudeness. Profiling. Even guests requesting not to deal with him. Douglas was sweating now. Listen, Henry. Let's not make this bigger than it has to be. Henry's stare was cold. Oh, I'm not making anything, he said. I'm exposing it. He turned toward Monica. Get me a meeting with the board. Today. The boardroom on the 41st floor was cold, not from the air conditioning, but from the tension that always seemed to linger there. Long glass walls. A table that could seat 20. At the head sat Henry, no longer in disguise. He wore a sharp charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. His presence alone commanded attention. One by one, the board members filed in, some curious, some annoyed, most unaware of what was coming. Douglas was already seated, pretending to check emails, but mostly trying not to sweat through his shirt. Monica sat beside Henry with a neatly organized folder, laptop open, and one eyebrow slightly raised. She already knew how this would go. All right, Henry said, tapping the table gently. Let's begin. There was no preamble. No small talk. Just a click, and the large screen on the wall lit up with hotel security footage. First, Henry, in disguise, approaching the front desk. Then, Chase Daniels looking up, scanning him, and delivering the line that made every jaw in the room tighten. Move along, monkey. No one spoke. The silence was deafening. And just so we're clear, Henry said, pausing the video, this wasn't an isolated mistake. Monica? She tapped a key. Screens filled with internal reports, guest complaints, staff grievances, anonymous notes from housekeeping. A pattern emerged, ugly and undeniable. Chase had a history, and he wasn't the only one. This hotel is a reflection of the people who run it, Henry said. And right now, that reflection is cracked. A man at the far end, Mr. Talbot, senior investor, cleared his throat. What do you propose, Mr. Watson? Henry stood. His voice was calm but carried weight. We shut it down. Murmurs erupted. Confused glances. Shock. Temporarily, he clarified. We close operations for 1 week. We launch a full-scale internal audit. Every employee is retrained from the ground up. Zero tolerance. Zero excuses. And those who don't align with the values we stand for, they don't return. Henry, do you know what that'll cost us? Douglas blurted. Henry stared at him. Not nearly as much as keeping the rot alive will. Monica pushed a document across the table, a formal action plan, already drafted. Henry had come prepared. Vote, he said. One by one, hands rose. Slowly at first, then all at once. Douglas didn't raise his. But it didn't matter. The motion passed. Unanimously. Henry sat back, looking around the room. Congratulations, he said quietly. We're about to become the hotel industry's wake-up call. Word spread faster than wildfire. By midday, the lobby of the Grand Crest was empty, not of people, but of purpose. Staff were gathered in the main conference hall, confusion in their eyes. Phones rang off the hook at corporate. Social media caught scent of something brewing. Henry stood before over 200 employees. No suit. No mic. Just his voice. I know this is not what you expected when you came in today, he began. But today is not business as usual. There was a stillness in the room. No whispering. No fidgeting. This hotel is known for its 5 stars, its elite service, its marble floors and penthouse views. But that's not what makes us great. People do. A pause. Eyes locked on him. And if one of our own can be degraded at the front desk in broad daylight, what does that say about who we really are? He scanned the crowd. Some people looked ashamed. Others looked relieved. Like someone had finally said it. There's going to be an investigation. Every department. Every level. If you've experienced something, anything, now's the time to speak. He looked down for a beat. Then up again. I didn't build this place to be beautiful on the outside and broken on the inside. The room was silent. Then someone clapped. Just one person at first, a housekeeper from the 3rd floor. Then others joined. A slow wave of approval. But not everyone clapped. And Henry noticed. Later that afternoon, Monica entered his office holding a tablet. You'll want to see this, she said. On screen was a private group chat. Staff members had been leaking racist jokes, screenshots, even photos mocking guests. Worse, several of the names were supervisors. Managers. People Henry had trusted. This wasn't just a bad apple, Monica said. It's deeper. Henry nodded, jaw tight. Then we go deeper. Outside, a news van was parking near the entrance. Microphones and cameras weren't far behind. Tomorrow, the world would know. By sunrise, the hotel was trending. Hashtag Grandcrest shutdown. Hashtag justice and hospitality. Hashtag who is Henry Watson. News anchors camped outside the front doors like vultures waiting for a moment of blood. The iconic gold logo behind them shimmered under flashing cameras. Inside, Henry was calm, focused. He sat across from a reporter from one of the country's largest networks. A woman with sharp eyes and a voice trained to detect lies. Mr. Watson, she began, microphone clipped to her blazer, why shut down one of the most successful hotels in the state over a single incident? Henry didn't blink. Because this wasn't a single incident. It was a symptom of a culture we ignored for too long. And I refuse to be another CEO who waits for a lawsuit to start caring. She nodded, clearly not expecting that answer. Some say this is performative. A PR move. Henry leaned forward. I don't need to perform for anyone. I was the one they told to leave. I was the one called a monkey at my own front desk. And I was the one they didn't recognize, not because I was in disguise, but because people like me aren't expected to run places like this. Silence. That clip would be watched over 10 million times by the end of the day. Monica burst into the room right after the interview ended. We have a bigger problem, she said, holding a printed email. Corporate just sent this. They're considering pulling funding. They don't want the controversy to affect the brand. Henry read the message, face unreadable. They want me to apologize, he said flatly. To apologize for exposing racism? They want you to call it a misunderstanding, Monica said, disgust in her voice. Henry stood up. Set up a live stream. 1 hour. Are you sure? Yes, he said. If they want to make this about brand, then let's show the world what this brand really stands for. An hour later, the live stream began. Henry sat alone in the hotel's grand lobby. Behind him, no logos, no banners. Just the front desk. The same one where it all started. He looked into the lens and spoke from the heart. My name is Henry Watson. I'm a black man. I'm a hotelier. And I've worked twice as hard to earn half the benefit of the doubt. But I built this place on values, not velvet chairs. If those values aren't welcome at the top, then maybe it's time to build something new. He ended with a message to the corporate board. If you want to walk away from this, Go ahead. But I won't be walking with you. The feed ended. The internet exploded. The next morning, the boardroom at corporate HQ wasn't filled with its usual smug quiet. There was chaos in the suits, calls flying back and forth, legal teams hissing in corners, PR reps sweating through their silk blouses. The live stream had gone viral. Not just viral, it had sparked something. Hundreds of former hotel workers from around the country began posting their own stories. Discrimination. Microaggressions. Abuse swept under five-star carpets. And at the center of it all, Henry Watson. Inside a private call with the board, Henry sat in front of the camera once more, calm, confident, unshaken. The background was different now. Not the hotel. A co-working space downtown. Something about it looked intentional. Symbolic. Henry, one board member began, we've reviewed everything. The backlash, the public reaction, frankly, it's out of control. We have shareholders threatening to pull out. Let them, Henry said. You're putting the entire hospitality group at risk. No, Henry cut in. You did that. The moment you prioritized image over integrity. Another board member leaned forward. Let's be real, Henry. What exactly are you trying to prove here? Henry smiled. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm trying to fix something you were too afraid to look at. He paused. Then calmly placed a folder on the table in front of him. I'm buying the hotel. Silence. You can't be serious, someone finally said. Monica, off camera, slid a contract into frame. Private investors. Community funds. A few very angry billionaires who've been waiting for someone to shake the system. You want to separate from the brand? I am the brand, Henry said. But if that brand doesn't stand for people, real people, then yes. I want out. I'll take the hotel, the staff, the values, and leave the politics to you. Henry, do you understand what you're walking away from? Of course, he said, leaning forward. The real question is, do you? Click. He left the call. Hours later, his inbox pinged with one subject line. Offer accepted. Transfer in motion. The Grand Crest, or rather, what used to be the Grand Crest, now had a new owner. And a new name was already being carved into the marble outside. But before the reveal, Henry had one last thing to do. He returned to the hotel lobby, just as he had days before. Same hoodie. Same cap. But this time, as he approached the front desk, it was empty. Except for one person. Chase Daniels. Henry stopped in front of him. No cameras. No audience. Just the two of them. Chase looked up slowly, his face pale. Sir. I didn't know. I didn't mean. Henry raised a hand. I'm not here for your apology. I'm here to say this, you taught me something. Chase blinked, unsure. You reminded me why I started this journey in the first place. And now, you're going to remind everyone else what happens when we let hate go unchecked. He slid a termination letter across the desk. Chase didn't argue. Didn't speak. He simply stood, took his things, and walked out the same door he once told someone else to use. The door marked exit. 3 weeks later, the doors opened again. Not just unlocked, opened. What once read Grand Crest Hotel was now engraved with bold, black stone and brushed gold lettering. The Watson House. Beneath it, smaller words etched like a promise. Where every story is worth hearing. The press showed up. Of course they did. But this time, they weren't the stars. It was the people, the bellhops, the janitors, the servers, the guests who had once been ignored, profiled, or talked down to, now standing shoulder to shoulder as equals. Inside, changes weren't just cosmetic. The walls were lined with portraits of staff, not celebrities. A section of the lobby was turned into a quiet corner for guest stories, handwritten notes, thank you cards, even a voice booth where people could anonymously share experiences, good or bad. There was a new department too, equity and experience, led by Monica. Anonymous surveys became standard. So did regular town halls. And the staff? They didn't just return, they showed up with purpose. The ones who didn't fit the new vision? Gone. The ones who stayed? Invested. Henry walked the lobby without disguise now. Guests greeted him with nods, some with hugs. A kid even asked for a selfie once. One morning, he sat by the lobby cafe with a coffee in hand when a young black woman approached, nervously holding a resume. "Mr. Watson," she asked. I just wanted to say thank you. My mom used to clean rooms here. She never thought someone like her could belong at the top. You changed that." Henry stood, shook her hand. "You want to work here?" "Yes, sir. I want to be where the good fight is." He smiled. "Then welcome home." That night, as he looked out from the rooftop, city lights glowing like stars below, Monica stepped beside him. "Do you realize what you just did?" she asked. "No," Henry said softly. "What we just did." From the outside, it still looked like a luxury hotel. But now, it felt like justice. And that was worth everything.